Hello everybody and welcome back to On a Creek. So today's video we're going to be talking about a shallow water anchor or a scupper hole power pole for your kayak. So stay tuned, you're going to want to see this. Alright guys, so let's talk about kayak fishing a little bit. So I generally fish in the big boat. I've always fished in the big boat. I've had bigger boats. I had a 16 foot, now I have a 17.5 foot. And when I'm fishing I'm usually fishing deep water, bigger water, Lake Erie, larger lakes, stuff like that. But I really miss fishing shallower water. You know, you can get some really good bass action, some pike action in some of them shallow water areas. And they're just untapped for me in the last 5 or 6 years because I just haven't had the opportunity to do it. Now I live on the creek, right? Because that's the name of the channel. And our creek is pretty shallow. It's between 3 and 5 feet generally. And I haven't really fished it a lot the last few years because it gets very weedy and you really need to be mobile. But I haven't had a boat that can do the shallower, weedier waters. Now, eventually I want to do a dock and I want to do an aluminum boat and something that I can kind of cruise around the creek, kind of fish more my style. But for the time being, that's expensive because my dock really isn't set up for a boat, and I want something that I can leave in the water all year, something without wood that's not going to get damaged for sitting out in the weather, something I can beat up a little bit. Uh, but I want to fish now, so I decided it is time that I get into the kayak fishing game. So I finally looked on Facebook Marketplace. I found me a used kayak because I'm a budget guy and I want to save a little bit of money, and I found a 11.5 foot fishing kayak for about 500 bucks, right? And I've been out on the water a couple times now, but the one thing that I've learned very quickly about kayak fishing, meaning that I've just never really done it before. I've never really fished from a kayak, I don't think ever. But you're very susceptible to the wind, so even on very light breezy days, that kayak wants to move everywhere, and it's very important that you're pointed in the direction that you want to fish. So when I didn't really have any means to control where I was, because I hadn't had an anchor or anything yet, I would set myself up and cast, and then I'm all over the place. So I kind of got to the point where I was literally parking up on the weed patches to hold me in place, and it worked, right? So I thought to myself, well, man, there's got to be a better way. What if there's got to be some sort of like power pole for kayaks, right? And I don't really need something that's a power pole per se that's going to move itself up and down. But I thought, how expensive can that be? A fiberglass rod or something that goes through a little apparatus on the side of the kayak and holds you in place. Well, they have them, but they're real proud of them because they're pretty expensive. And I was looking at one, and it was like 60 bucks. $60. That's a lot of money for one pole. And in my mind, I needed two because I figured, I wanted one on each side to keep me from pivoting or spinning around. Yeah, I wasn't going to spend that money. But I got to thinking about it, and I have scupper holes. And I thought, well, what if I made my own shallow water anchor, my own power pole? And it was like the power pole shallow water anchor, but scupper. So I run the pole down into the scupper hole, and it holds me in place, right? Well, we're going to give it a try. And we're going to do it with this. This is my poor man's power pole. So basically I have 4 of these because I think 2 is the right because I wanted to go through scupper holes. And I don't really know what size I needed, but they sold 2 at the hardware store, right? And they were $3 a piece. So for $3, I got fiberglass rods. I think this one was like $4. It was a little bit more expensive because it was taller, right? And I figured I can have for like 3 or maybe even 4, 5, 6 foot of water. I don't know if it's going to work real great yet, but we're going to give it a try. But the next thing I thought is like, well, I don't want just some orange pole. I need to have some sort of handle to push down. So I bought one dowel. And I'm pretty sure that I can cut and make this into handles for this. So it'll give me like a T-handle shape. And to fix it all together, epoxy. So I'm going to walk you through how I do this. I don't know if it's going to work quite yet. I guess we'll find out at the end of the video when I give it a try. But we're going to put together my idea here of a poor man's power pole for your kayak that works through your scupper hole. But yeah, so I'm going to have to get some tools. I got to get a way to cut this. And it shouldn't be very hard. It should only be a couple pieces and some epoxy. But let me get some things together and then I'll show you exactly. I'll get you set up so you can see what I'm doing. So my idea is pretty simple. I have two of my fiberglass rods that are just basically markers to mark your driveway in the wintertime. And I have one of these dowels, and this is a 1x48 2.54 centimeter dowel. So it's just big enough. It's be a comfortable handle. And I want handle sized pieces. So when I grab a hold of this, a comfortable place is like, I don't know, right here. So that's how long I want my handles to be. And I need 4 of them. And we should be able to do this without fancy tools. But I'm kind of curious how long that is. 4.5 on the money. So I'm going to make a hash mark at 4.5. And a hash mark at 4.5. And a hash mark at 4.5. So that's 3 and another hash mark at 4.5. So I have all my little hash marks. Each handle is going to be 4.5-ish. Because let's face it, I'm not trying to be perfect with it. And because we're not using fancy tools, a hacksaw. And that's what I'm going to cut my wood with. So you can do this simply with a hacksaw. You can use a power saw. You can use a sawzall. You can use a plunge cut saw. You can use whatever saw you want. Whatever saw you have handy. Now I'm going to cut each of these 4 sections. And then I'll be right back. So it can be done with fancy tools, but let's face it, boys. If you got them, use them. Blade's a little dull. Wanted to start a fire. Alright, so I know I said we can do this without fancy tools, and I was over that very quickly because I got sick of hand sawing this, but you could clean this up with just a piece of sandpaper, but since we're over the hand tools and we're at the use them if you got them phase, a piece of sandpaper may work, but so would a flap disc. Now this is going to take material very quickly, so it'll be very quick to do. I'm just going to hit the top and then round the edges. So rinse and repeat on both sides and all the way around. Alright, so I have my 4 handles now. As you can see, they're all about the same size, about a hand grips. But now I need to mount the rods into there, and to do that, I'm going to drill a hole in the center. So I need to figure out what the center is, and I need to figure out what diameter this rod is, because I don't really know. So I'm going to figure that out real quick. Alright, so I want to figure out the diameter, and basically I have this thread checker. And let's see, 5/16, so too small. 3/8. That's pretty tight. So we're going to go with 3/8. So that's how I figured my diameter. So I'm going to get me a 3/8 drill bit, and then I'll be right back and drill my hole. Okay, so we're on the next step of the process, and I got a 4.5 inch dowel here. I cut it, I shaped the edges, and then the middle is 2.25. So I marked 2.25, and I got the drill depth or drill diameter that I needed was 3/8. And then I figured out how deep I want the hole to go, and I marked it with some painter's tape on the drill. So now all I need to do is drill into this as straight as I can. Just until I get to the depth that I want. And then I'm going to hit this little spot that made it a little bit rough with a piece of sandpaper. I'm not going to use the flat disc this time. Now hopefully you can kind of see how this is coming together here, but I got a little orange cap. Don't need that. And I have a hole that hopefully fits. And it does. That's my push surface. But I don't want this to come out. So I'm going to get some of this adhesive. I just got some 2-part epoxy, right? It sets in 5 minutes, and it's strong as all get out, supposedly. So I'm going to take all these tips off, and I'm going to get something to mix this epoxy up in. I just need like a piece of cardboard, which I know we have laying around here. So I'm going to get cardboard and get me a little mixing surface and prep that up to get glued. So we'll see. All right, so I got me a piece of cardboard. I'm just going to squeeze this part 1 and part 2. On this cardboard here. And then I got a shim, and I'm just going to mix this together. Tell you what, it doesn't smell great. Don't need that. So now I just need to glue the tip on. So I'm going to dip this in the epoxy. Just give it a spin. So I don't know if you can see that, but I got it in there. There's a plenty of it there. I'm going to probably clean that up a hair. But I want to at least get all of these caps on before I worry about cleaning it up. I'm just dipping it in and rolling it around. Getting a little bit of epoxy on there. I don't think it's going to take much. And I just spin it and press it. I'm going to put me a glove on. Glove up. I'm just going to take a glove finger and I'm going to clean up the excess with the glove finger. Just like that. Now we let it harden. Okay, so we made these homemade power poles, and I'm calling them the Scupper Hole power pole, manual power pole, and we're gonna give it a test run. I'm thinking I just got the short ones with me. I didn't bring the long ones, but we're gonna give it a try and see if it works. I'd say I stopped moving. So I think it works. You know, it's definitely down in the muck there. And I got a little bit of wobble, right? But it's definitely holding me still. I don't think this is going to be a solution for big heavy wind. And I do believe, or like big current. And I think I'm going to need to get like a shallow, or like just a throwable anchor, but apparently somebody wants to play loud music in the background. But man, this is definitely like I could cast and do everything I need to do. Now I need to think of a really smart way to like stick these to the kayak so they're not going to fall out. I just had them under the seat, but I'm thinking like I can put them on this strap right here, and that might work. Now I don't know if they float, and I don't think I'm going to test it in the creek, but it does have the wood, so maybe it will float. But for now, I'd call this a success. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching On the Creek. If you want to make these power poles, it's super simple, super cheap, and it's not that complicated. So get out there and live, guys. We'll catch you next time here at On the Creek.
Another catfish.